I've had a bunch of people in the building walk up to me today and say, hey, what are you going to talk about? There's nothing going on. I said, no, there's plenty going on. So why don't we kick things off with today's Daily Special?
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
It's a 4-year, $45 million contract extension that includes a team option for a 5th year. Between the Arizona Diamondbacks and shortstop Geraldo Perdomo, that news broke late last night. The contract will start next season, so not this season. It'll start in the 2026 season, and it will keep Perdomo with the Diamondbacks through at least the 2030 season and beyond. This a very nice move for the Diamondbacks. So a 4-year, $45 million deal is going to get a $5 million signing bonus. We'll make $5 million in 2026, $8 million in 2027, $11 million in 2028, $13 million in 2029. And then that option year for 2030 will be for $15 million and has a $3 million buyout if the Diamondbacks choose to explore it. This is what the Arizona Diamondbacks do. It's what they did with Corbin Carroll before he even got to the big league level. It's about team control. It is about cost controlled. It is about being able to look at your books, look at your roster, and know where you have to spend future dollars. And the more guys that you can get under long-term deals like this, the Braves are excellent at this. If you look at the Braves roster up and down, they are magicians at being able to put together their team, put together their roster, and keep their costs down. They go to these guys way early on, and they put these long-term deals. Ozzie Albies is a perfect example. You put a nice deal in front of them that's team-friendly, buys up some of their arbitration years, some of their early free agency years. It's good for the team. It gives the player some big-time money up front that they wouldn't maybe necessarily get if they hit arbitration. And that's what the Diamondbacks did here with this 4-year, $45 million extension with Geraldo Perdomo. He was not set to hit free agency for another 2 seasons. He was under team control for another 2 years. So what the team decided to do is, hey, we're going to give you more money maybe over the next 2 years than you would have gotten through the arbitration process. And we're going to buy up a couple of your free agent years at maybe numbers that are more in line with what we want. And it's going to be a benefit to both of us. You're going to get $45 million over the next 4 years. We're going to have cost control. We're going to be able to look at our books and say, we've got a left side of our infielder locked up for the next couple of seasons. It's a very nice way to build out a roster. So the first question is this a good move for the team? No question about it. It's a 25-year-old player. You're going to sign a guy for 4 years, maybe 5 years with a club option, take him all the way through his age 30 season. That's perfect. That's when you get a guy in his prime, and at most, the Diamondbacks are going to pay Perdomo $15 million. That's the most they will ever pay him in 1 year over the lifetime of this deal. For the next 2 seasons, he makes south of $10 million. It's a guy who provides great defense, a guy who provides excellent energy. Last year, hit .273, drove in 37 runs. He's never going to wow you at the bat, never going to hit for a ton of home runs. But here's a guy who makes contact, hit for a decent average. Last year, .273, the best of his career, easily the best offensive year of his career, and also provides you elite defense. And that leads to the next question. What does this mean for the future of Jordan Lawlar? Because I know that's where most people went yesterday after they saw the news of this signing. And a lot of people, I think, made a unnecessary leap to that this is, I guess, some sort of proof that the Diamondbacks aren't as sold on Jordan Lawlar as their future. Perdomo can play short and third. Lawlar could play short and third. There's some versatility there. I don't think this deal that the Diamondbacks inked with Perdomo yesterday has anything to do with how they feel about Jordan Lawlar. Lawlar is coming off injuries, still is a young prospect with a lot of future potential, and at some point is going to make this team. I have been on record. I think there's a pathway for the second half of this year. If this team needs some offense infused into their lineup if they're looking for a spark in the second half. If Lawler shows over the course of the first half a development of those skills, shows an ability to stay healthy, and he's down there in Reno or wherever they have him, and he's playing well, he could be that second half spark that this team could use. That's as early as I see him coming up. Second half, back part of the season, help to this team. Long term, Jordan Lawler is going to be on this team. Just because Jordan Lawler plays the same position as Perdomo right now does not mean anything for the future. Perdomo has some flexibility. Played third base at the big league level, not a ton, but in 2022 and 2023. Played 22 games at third base. He's played the bulk of his time at at shortstop, because that's where they've needed him the most, because they have Eugenio Suarez on the roster. But if they needed to move Perdomo over, or if they wanted to move Lawler to third base, all of those options are in the cards. But I am not going to shy away from being able to sign a 25-year-old infielder, shortstop, lock him up long-term, and now Mike Hazen. And we're going to talk a lot today about roster building and team building. This is what the good organizations do. Good organizations think multiple moves ahead. They're great chess players. They're able to see things 3, 4, 5 moves down the road. That's what this is for the Diamondbacks. They want to make sure that when they get to the 2027 offseason, they know we've got one of our infielders locked up long-term. We've got Corbin Carroll locked up long-term. We've got Corbin Burns under contract. I was looking at it this morning, and we'll talk a little bit later on about who might be next in line to get a contract extension from the Diamondbacks if they are going to give one out. But I looked at the payroll breakdown for the Diamondbacks over the next couple of years. When we get to 2027, here are the players that are guys with guaranteed contracts for the Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns, as long as he opts in after the end of 2026, so it's not a full guarantee. Eduardo Rodriguez, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo. So I potentially have the ace of my pitching staff. I have my star second baseman. I have a starting pitcher in Eduardo Rodriguez. I have my star center fielder. And I have one of my infielders who is a defensive guy, hits the ball, provides energy, loved in that clubhouse, is a leader, checks a lot of boxes. And that year, I'm only going to be paying him $9.25 million. This is perfect. For a team that this year is running their highest payroll ever, it's estimated, according to Fangraphs, to be $195 million. Over the course of the next year or two, that's going to probably have to come down a little bit. I don't see the Diamondbacks swimming in the waters of a 220, 230 payroll. They might max out towards this top end of 195, but I think they'd like to probably settle in the 160 to 180 range as long as they're competitive on a year-to-year basis. And so getting these cost-controlled contracts on the books, like a Corbin Carroll. I mean, they signed Corbin Carroll to an 8-year, $111 million contract. He's making $5 million this year. The deal doesn't eclipse $15 million until 2029. Again, this is what good general managers are able to do. They think multiple moves ahead. They identify players that they want to build around. And this is the Diamondbacks saying, we've identified Geraldo Perdomo at 25 years old as a player that we want to build around. This is one of the players we want as our core. Plays excellent defense. And you know these very good front offices who can't spend the way the Dodgers spend, the way the Mets spend, the way the Yankees spend, the way the Phillies spend. They prioritize run prevention over run creation. You want to spend all your money getting the top guys that can slug the ball out of the ballpark? I'm going to make sure I have great up-the-middle defense. I'm going to have a great catcher. I'm going to have a great second baseman, shortstop, and a great center fielder. And look at the way the Diamondbacks are constructed right now. You have Gabby Moreno behind the plate. Your middle infielders are Ketel Marte and Geraldo Perdomo right now. And your center fielder is Corbin Carroll. That's good up-the-middle defense. Going into this year, they might play Jake McCarthy a little bit in center, and they might stick Corbin in one of the corner spots. Right field is where he's projected to sit on opening day, according to Fangraphs. But either way, Jake McCarthy, Corbin Carroll. Up the middle, I've got Gabby Moreno, Perdomo and Ketel, Jake McCarthy. Sometimes I might have Alec Thomas out there. I might have days where Corbin Carroll's out there. I've got great up-the-middle defense. Run prevention. We talked run prevention versus run creation. We talked about that philosophy all winter long, how the Diamondbacks kind of pivoted to a run prevention model, realizing we're not going to be able to bring back Christian Walker. We're not going to be able to bring back Jock Peterson, so leaned in towards spending money on Corbin Burns. And so I love this move. I think it's a great signing. You're never going to hear me complain about signing young players to cost-controlled, team-friendly deals like this. Just a win-win for everybody. Diamondbacks don't have to worry about Geraldo Perdomo hitting free agency in a couple of years. They've got him through 2030. That's 5 years down the road. And if they pick up the club option, it costs them $15 million to do so, $3 million if they choose to buy it out. These are the types of deals that good organizations do, good front offices do. Identify young players that you want to build around. Don't wait until they get really close to free agency. We're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. There's another team. You see what went on in Toronto last night into this morning? There was a deadline that Vlad Guerrero Jr. set on being able to sign a long-term extension with Toronto. That deadline was today. They cut off talks last night around 10:30 Eastern time, realizing that they were way far apart. So a 26-year-old first baseman is about to hit free agency. We'll touch on this more as the show goes on. I have it as a story for the leftovers, but good organizations don't let it get to the midnight hour. They don't let it get to the last possible second like Toronto did, because you run the risk of this. And I'm not comparing Perdomo to Vlad Guerrero Jr. per se, but as an organization, when you identify players that you want to build around your core, I'm always an advocate for not wasting time putting together these types of deals. They are win-win across the board.